I gotta show you my shirt. Hold on. Merry Christmas, and it has Mothman.
Mothman and Nessie and
the Fleetwood Monster.
Oh, I see.
Hello and welcome to the Plot Hole Podcast, where two writers from the video game industry pull back the curtain on narrative development and analyze your favorite stories. My name's Alana Carroll.
I'm Sydney King.
And today we actually have our first... Listen, I was going to introduce you, sir. Jump the gun on me. But what I was going to say...
You paused. I don't know what to tell you.
I did pause. Today we do have our first ever guest, our good friend, Isaac Kellis. Isaac is not a writer. Disclaimer. He's not a writer. We still hang out with him, though. But he is a character artist in the gaming industry. He's worked on some great projects, and he's happily agreed to be our guinea pig for having a guest on this podcast. He's really excited. I can tell. Thank you so much, though, in reality. As always, we're going to start with our disclaimers. Number one, we are video game professionals, but we will not be discussing our projects or companies. Our thoughts and opinions do not necessarily affect those of our employers. Number two, we all love stories here. We're here to discuss them through a critical lens, but these are all our opinions. If you love a story and we say critical stuff about it, doesn't mean it's a bad story. You love it, so that's all that matters. And number three, spoilers ahead. When we're discussing all aspects of narrative, we will also be discussing the ending. Before we get into our main topic, we're going to start off with some news and headlines. I pulled from the world of narrative, so a pretty slow Christmas break. I mean, there's two big stories, but besides for these two, there weren't really a lot out there. Vince Zampelli passed away in a car accident, which was a big loss for gaming. It was a real shock at EA. It was very, he did some great things for the gaming industry, and he's going to be very missed. But in case you're unfamiliar, he was the co-founder of Infinity Ward. He was the head of Respawn, and he was currently the head of Ripple Effect Studios. He had a tremendous impact, again, on the gaming industry, and he will be sorely missed. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 won Best Narrative and Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Congrats to that team. I still have not played that game. I'm sure. It's great. There has been some controversy, and I kind of debated putting this in, but I'm going to because we're all game industry people here, so I don't know. But anyways, there has been some controversy surrounding the game and its use of AI. To be clear, there's no AI in the game, but it was used as placeholder assets. I'm glad the team won. I think it had some issues with indie awards because of this. I'm not really here to get into AI, but
yeah,
if you want to go, Sydney.
I was just going to say, to follow up on the issue with the indie awards that you mentioned, I only want to expand on this because it also connects to something I said in our last episode, I think, where the indie awards took the narrative award away from Expedition 33 and gave it to Blueprints, which was my game of the year. And there was an article published, I'd have to look it up, I don't even remember the publication that did it anymore, that claimed that Blueprints used AI throughout the entire game and did so unapologetically. And so it was really hypocritical for the indie awards to do this, but Blueprints also did not use any AI. So I think this is just, there's a lot of anxiety around AI right now, rightfully so, and it's pitting people against each other, and we should be celebrating artists and being responsible with the words that we say. That's it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because again, this could probably be its own whole episode about AI and our thoughts on it, but it's a very nuanced thing. It is part of a lot of big studios' workflow at this point. So it's, as you said, we should really be just celebrating the artists behind them. Um, I don't know, and look at more AI as a tool that's being utilized. But again, I'm gonna just mutter
Yeah.
into the
Maybe
distance about
a
that
different
one.
episode.
Different episode, 100%. So we're gonna go to another segment that Sydney just suggested. It's called "What Are We
Right.
Playing?" Sydney, would you like to explain what this is?
Yeah, I just thought it would be nice to add to the beginning of our episodes another little mini segment where we talk about main gaming news and narrative news, but also just talk about the games that we're playing or TV shows that we're watching. Just a little opportunity for us to shout out some projects that we really like and maybe don't have time for a full episode on, but think that they deserve a spotlight. So that was inspired mostly by me lately. I've been playing the Seance of Blake Manor, which I've been really enjoying. I love puzzle games. I love spooky horror, Irish folklore, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into Nancy Drew games or Return of the Obra Dinn or Blueprints, you might like Seance of Blake Manor.
I was gonna say because I remember it being comparable to like Nancy Drew, which I love the old games.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever played them, Isaac.
No. Do you have any cool comparisons?
God damn.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm currently watching the Fallout and Percy Jackson series, and I think I told one of you this, but it's really funny that they're released on the same day because I like watch it and I'll watch Percy Jackson. It's really happy and everyone's like, "Yay, we're on a great quest!" And then we go to Fallout and someone's head's definitely blowing up in the episode. And it's just a really interesting tonal shift, and I don't even know which one I should watch first. Like I don't know which tonal shift would like soften.
It's gonna be weird either way.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I hope that I assume we're gonna cover at least Fallout eventually, but and then what I'm playing is that me and Isaac are actually friends with the whole Discord group of friends, and we play games a lot. And we've been playing Valheim, which for those who don't know, it's like an older game that came out, was indie, made by a really small team, and it's a survival crafting Viking game. And I love survival crafting games. Not a lot of our gaming group does. So it's really interesting that people really, I mean, yeah, a lot of us really like this game. And then when we're not playing Valheim, we're playing Battlefield 6. And I haven't really had any time to like sit down and do like start a good playthrough, like a narrative game or like a longer game, just because I'm working on projects on the side. But yeah. And are you playing anything but Valheim and Battlefield 6, Isaac?
Nope. No, that's all I'm playing. I did buy in the winter sale, the Steam winter sale. I picked up Dispatch and sorry, I don't want to get the name wrong because this is being recorded. That would just be embarrassing. The King is Watching. Which is kind of like a base buildery kind of.
Okay.
I don't know, something. So looking forward to those. But yeah, I've been playing Valheim primarily.
It's interesting because there's no, I mean, the narrative in it is like survival crafting narrative. I don't know. I feel like I could dive into that, but we're not going to because not going down that rabbit hole. But what we can do is go to our topic. So we're doing something a little different today because it's our first guest episode. We wanted to shake things up and do a top 5 list. The topic of this list is going to be games we would like to see made into a movie or television adaptation, which is a nice segue from what we actually were just talking about. We each had to come up with our own top 5 list. We don't know what's on the other's list. The qualification for this list was any game that has not been adapted, optioned, or is currently in production as a movie or TV show. Any games that have printed adaptations like comics or books are still fair games. We did come up with this idea because we did have interest in our first episode about us talking about more game adaptations. We are going to touch on The Last of Us eventually. We have something in the works for season 3. Because Sydney's our Last of Us expert, so it can't be. We got to go all out.
Sure.
and of course, a lot of like our top 5 adaptations, we would probably end up doing their own episodes. So, all right, are you guys ready for the history segment of this?
Yes.
This is
history.
I'm very lucky that Sydney and Isaac know that I can ramble about anything for a very long time. All right, so
Current hyperfixation.
This is normally a dive. What? Sorry.
Nothing.
This is normally a dive into behind the scenes of our story. Because this is a broad topic, we're going to go high level with this overview and do some history of video game adaptations. And again, this will focus on screen and film, not print adaptations. That's its own can of worms with books. So most people believe the first ever adaptation of a video game was the Super Mario Bros. Movie released in 1993. They're technically correct if they're only considering movies and the American box office. But the history of adaptations began a little earlier in America. I am focusing on America here because Japan has its own relationship with video game screen adaptations. Its first theoretical release for a movie based on a video game was a Super Mario's anime in 1986, so quite some time before the US started dipping their toe into this. Yeah, it can be sort of argued that Japan takes this art form more seriously. I think like video games as art is taken a little bit more seriously here. It's much more mainstream, much more embraced, unfortunately. But anyways, that could be its own history segment right there. But I digress. Anyways, back in the good old USA in 1980, a little game called Pac-Man was released into the arcade scene. It was a huge hit and was revolutionary for a few reasons, but the one we're concerned about is it became a cultural phenomenon. It generated an estimated up to $6 billion in revenue from arcade machines. I had no idea. And wherever there's money, there's merch. We get Pac-Man t-shirts, toys, there was a phone that comes out, cereal, bumper stickers, whatever Namco could slap Pac-Man's round face on, they did. That also included a Pac-Man TV show that was produced by Hanna-Barbera Productions in 1982, which ran from 1982 to 1983. So short run, but Hanna-Barbera is famous for like Scooby-Doo, other ones that I totally should have researched, but they're not. They're a pretty well-known animation company. But it did have, even though it did have a short run, it was the highest rated Saturday morning cartoon show in the US in 1982. Upon its God damn it. Upon its release, it drew an audience over 20 million. It was kind of simple, straightforward. It followed Pac-Man and his family as they battled against the ghost and protected power pellets. Nothing too wild. It was so funny because he has a dog, and then there's Mrs. Pac-Man, which I knew about, but I did not know that Pac-Man had a dog. I need to look up what the dog looked like.
Is his name Pac Dog?
Probably Chomper. I think it was like Chomper or something.
Chomper. That works. Okay. I'll give them some points for that.
And of course, their main protagonists were the Pac-Man ghost, which I used to have memorized by name, and now I don't anymore. But then tragedy strikes the video game industry. The video game crash of 1983, which lasts until 1985. However, we see light at the end of the tunnel with the launch of the NES in 1986 and the Sega Genesis in 1988. The video game market starts to recover. The success of these two systems and their popular mascot, Mario and Sonic, spawn a few early adaptations. This is when it gets wild. It gets pretty weird. So first, we have the Super Mario Bros. Hold on. This is a tongue twister. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show, airing in 1889. It was a short-lived series focusing on Mario and Luigi, who accidentally warped to the Mushroom Kingdom while fixing a bathtub drain. We're pretty normal there. But The show featured live action segments starring WWE Hall of Famer and wrestler Captain Lou Albano, I think I want to say, as Mario, and Danny Wells as Luigi, which was a stage comedy about running a Brooklyn plumbing business in the 1980s. I've never seen this, but I wish I had.
I've seen there were a few episodes on YouTube at some point, at least, that I remember watching a few of them on. Like back in school. So
it was just like I think it was like in syndication when they ran it, but that wasn't the most bizarre thing to come from this show. As Link would say, "Excuse me, princess." That's right. This was the origin of the infamous Legend of Zelda animated segment. It portrayed Link as a moaning, self-centered, horny teenager. This version of Link is so bad that it's rumored Nintendo was reluctant to license him out to any company after this, but with the new Nintendo movie, it seems things have changed. So, the show receives, for some reason that is unknown to anyone, it receives mixed reviews. But Nintendo wasn't done loaning out Mario. Of course, the main event was the release of the Super Mario Bros. Movie on May 28th, 1993 in theaters nationwide. It starred Bob Hoskins as Mario and John, oh my god, John Zaumo? I thought I could say his name if I didn't think about it.
I was able to say it until now I'm thinking about it, like overthinking.
If you think about it, it's gone.
No.
The moment I read it, I was like, it's gone. As Luigi. So pulled from the Google description, Brooklyn plumbers Mario and Luigi get the shock of their lives when they discover a parallel world populated by intelligent descendants of dinosaurs. It seems they weren't destroyed by the meteor millions ago, but hurled into another dimension, and now they have plans to rule our world. It's up to our unlikely heroes to battle against the evil King Koopa and his Goomba guards and free the beautiful Princess Daisy and save mankind in this adventure of a lifetime. I could devote an entire afternoon talking to this movie, and I hope one day we will. But yeah, let's just say put it in the box for another future episode. It was universally hated, except by young Alana, who discovered it at Blockbuster years later. And it was a huge box office bomb. It just didn't make back its budget. It was bad. It's really just... I don't even know how to describe it. Like a fever dream of a movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And thus, this kind of begins the video game curse, as people start referring to it. The myth that video games can't be made into good adaptations, and I say myth as in, yes, it's a myth. It's not true. It can happen. In this movie's defense, and I guess on these adaptation defenses, there was a lot going on when this movie came out. The production was ruined with vision issues. It was grossly misunderstood by its audience. And at this point, video games were also going through a cultural shift in America. Up until this point, video games had been viewed as children's entertainment. It was becoming clear to developers that people weren't aging out of love for video games, but they don't stop playing. And not only that, they appeal to an older market too. Then we started to see the emergence of more grittier, more violent games. And these games sell well. That's when the video games hearings by Congress in 1993 come up. So Congress comes together and they say, hey, we don't want children playing. There was a game called Night Trap. Doom was in the center of it. So these hearings are happening at the exact moment that this movie comes out, which I'm sure doesn't help the situation. But out of these hearings come the I lost it. ESRB ratings. But it's not all doom and gloom. Let's race back to TV. In September 1993, an animated Sonic the Hedgehog show called Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog began airing. And unlike whatever the hell Nintendo is greenlighting, the Sonic show is true to its roots. It follows the wisecracking hedgehog and his pal Tails as they battle against Dr. Robotnik. I can't find exactly how this was received, but it was received well enough to be redistributed several times and translated into foreign markets. It had several spin-off shows. it does feel like it was overshadowed by a lot of Nintendo's releases that were happening at the time. People don't remember the nice Sonic show when they're thinking about Mario and fighting dinosaurs. And its shadow cast is kind of even larger than that, because it kind of, people don't remember, but Street Fighter released in 1994 and the Mortal Kombat in 1995. Both films do well, and they're favorably received at the box office by fans, spawning more sequels. But that Mario movie just really left a bad taste in people's mouths. So we kind of we switch back over to television. Video game adaptations again blast off when Pokemon anime's debate. I swear to God, I know how to say this. What? What is it? Someone just say it once.
You have to say the sentence again before it. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Like premieres, debuts. Okay. I for some reason seeing it was driving me crazy. Sorry. Okay, continuing. Video game adaptations blast off again when Pokemon anime debuts in America in 1997, sweeping children across the country and to a Pokemon craze that persists today. The show starts actually with the I don't know if you guys ever watched the original anime. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love the first episode ever is actually a shot of the Game Boy, and there's like a battle happening, and it transfers into the show. Like it's not shy at all about its roots. And it seems like when Pokemon releases they release a game and then the show comes after it that follows that region. I don't know, were you into Pokemon as a kid, Isaac?
No.
Digimon? Yu-Gi-Oh?
Digimon.
Unfortunately,
Isaac was into I don't know. He was a frontiersman in the woods, I guess.
I was playing Age of Empires and I was drawing a lot.
Damn.
And I'm sure my parents never wanted to buy me any cards. Isn't that how? Because that's how you would have gotten into them, right? If you didn't have a Game Boy, it would have been the trading cards.
I got into it through the show, and then it was the Game Boy for me. So I transferred to the game.
We didn't do cable, so.
Oh, that makes sense. I remember running from my bus in elementary school to my house to watch the show because it came on like at 2:45. I remember exactly when it came on. Anyways, Pokemon then dominates the silver screen with the release of its movies in 1998, and then a sequel in 1999. But from 2000 to 2004, we have a string of successful box office video game movies, from Lara Croft to Resident Evil. However, these movies are pretty much panned by critics and fans alike. We see, and this, I have a theory about this when I was researching it, and you'll just tell me how you think about this, Sydney. It was almost like they had this idea that video games couldn't be adapted. So they would go and they would adapt the video game and change the plot and what people liked about it. And then it would fail, and they'd be like, it's because it was a video game. And so they would do the same thing with the next movie, because there was just this like series of bad movies.
Yeah, I wonder if, I don't know, it seems like there was a trend that, or like people were convinced that if they were doing a game adaptation, they had to do an original story with the IP. And I think what a lot of fans wanted is just to see what they already knew and loved. And, you know, now we're getting into the thing where people are adapting stories from games because games have gotten a lot more narratively heavy.
It's fun. It's funny
and
you
they're
would say that.
Doing that bad too, so nobody's ever happy.
So we see a lot more video game adaptations released from 2005 to 2018, such as Rampage. These all perform. I was looking at the box office numbers. They all recoup their budget and make some, but these movies are, they just hate it. Some of the more disappointing ones to come out during this time frame is Prince of Persia, Hitman, Assassin's Creed, Warcraft. There's a million more I'm probably not naming that personally disappointed either one of you. But and this trend kind of continues, and we see fans lose any hope of any good movies based on properties they love. The dreaded video game curse. I'm not I haven't touched on TV at this time because TV is mostly being used for like Sonic has a lot of like TV shows coming out at this time. Pokemon, as I said, is going strong. It's more that's more viewed as a children's media. Video game adaptations on them. It's not really seen as video game adaptations, which is just a shame. However, we do start to see a shift in the middle of this. In 2007, such games as Portal, Halo 3, Mass Effect, and Uncharted are released. These games showcase complex plots and narratives. They are critical and commercial successes. The studios respond to the success of driven story games by creating more of them. We get Last of Us, we get the Witcher series, we get Telltale: The Walking Dead. Video games are increasingly seen as a vehicle for telling compelling and emotional stories. The gap between these stories video games are telling and the ones that are showing up on the silver screen remains until hope comes from an unlikely source. Once the villain, now turned hero, Nintendo, in partnership with the Pokemon Company and Warner Brothers, they will release Detective Pikachu in 2019. It dominates the box office and delights fans and critics. Most importantly, it captures the essence and characters from the game. I didn't play Detective Pikachu, but I hear like the characters are the same in it, which is pretty dope. That's not all that happens in that year. The Witcher series debate. I swear to fucking God.
Debuted.
This is my boss. This is my final boss. That's not all. The Witcher series debuts the same year on Netflix and is praised for its complex storylines, dark themes, and flawed characters. It's considered another faithful adaptation of the game series it's inspired by. I say inspired by because they're also the Witcher books, which the show draws a lot of inspiration from, and also the game is based around those. It proves that games for adults can compete with survive in markets with adult audiences and critics. And what's that? Not to be outdone, Sonic the Hedgehog releases a live action in 2020. Again, it's another runaway success, loved by fans and critics alike. I didn't mean for runaway to be a pun there, but I'm glad it is. Flukes, you say?
Very
It
nice.
happens again and again. We see the Super Mario movie, 2 more Sonic movies, Arcane, The Last of Us, Fallout, Five Nights at Freddy's, the first one. These movies and show not only tell entertaining stories, but stay true to the source material they are drawn from. But there have been some misses. Uncharted. With sequels and spin-offs, Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And I'm not entirely sure where to put the Minecraft movie. It wasn't made for me, but the people it was made for really seemed to like it. However, with many more adaptations in the works, the future looks bright, my friends. Take a bow after that.
Very nice.
Well
That
done.
was a thorough history.
Probably too thorough. But anyways.
No.
I need to
keep
watch
this-
the Prince Prisoner movie again.
Dude, it was so
The Jake
bad.
Gyllenhaal one.
Well, I remember watching it, I think in the Dollar Theater, and it's just been so long. I'm kind of curious, what. I'm sure it's not great.
It's just
could be fun.
bland. I remember it being bland when I
All
first
right.
watched it, and I remember it being bland when I watched it again. I know I haven't seen Five Nights at Freddy's 2, though, but I have seen the reception is not great with it. But
Five Nights at Freddy's is funny because isn't there a separate spin-off? Not spin-off. Like a Nick Cage one that's not Five Nights,
yes,
but it is.
it's I forget what it's called.
That's a fun subgenre of we're the game and we're not the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Knockoffs.
we're taking our cue from this game. I mean, I guess you could argue that PUBG did that with the Hunger Games, right? I mean, I guess battle royales were a thing before then, but
Yeah, that goes all the way back.
yeah, it was weird that those two came out right together because it really fed into PUBG's whole thing because it was you're in the arena. So I think a lot of I thought I made that connection. I don't know if other people.
It's like
did.
how we talked
But-
about with Epic Universe that horror reflects society. It's PUBG and the Hunger Games is about capitalism.
all capitalism. What is it? Follow the money, just like Pac-Man.
There can only be one survivor. There can only be one winner. One person at the top.
That is a very when we were in grad school, we had a production teacher used to always say people vote with their wallets. That's so true in video games. If you pay for something and it makes money, there's going to be 5,000 more of those things. So, yeah. But, all right. Let's get into the main event. To refresh everyone's memory, we've compiled a top 5 list of video games we would like to see adapted into a movie or TV show. Games already opted, currently in development, or have been released are disqualified. We have no idea what's on each other's list. We'll start with number 5 and work our way up. Since Isaac is the guest, would you like to say your number 5?
Number 5. I wish I'd put more thought into the specific order of these, but it's too late to change it. So my number
mine
5
aren't really ordered either, so just
fantastic.
Yeah.
My number 5, and I'm really hoping here that this isn't already a movie that that happened with like 3 of my other choices, where like later I'd look it up and it turned out that there was a movie and I just had never heard of it. XCOM is my number 5, which, like, as I picture it, these are all emotional decisions based on how much I enjoyed the game and felt like I was invested in the story. Just throw that out there. But like, I don't know how you would make that movie without it being just super tropey. But I don't know. I feel like there's a certain vibe there, and when I'm playing XCOM, the whole narrative is uniquely carried by my specific squad, even though it's just my squad. I don't know. So I feel like there's room there to have some compelling characters and tell a cool alien UFO thing.
Yeah, it's like a alien invasion one, right? Where you're like top-down strategy.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Which I
It is
100% need more alien movies in my life. And there might be something
Right?
extraterrestrial on my list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's also some nostalgia there, because I don't know if you guys remember. It seemed like there was this period in like the 2010s where you had a couple TV shows that were basically just that, and they were like forever shows. They went for that. I'm sure that there were finales at some point, and I never saw them. But it seemed like you could always hop on back when Hulu was free. You could just watch one of those. But anyways, doing that really well in the XCOM universe would be a lot of fun.
So would you follow, I'm not super familiar with the game, so is there a narrative in it that you would follow, or do you think it needs its own story? How would you like to see that?
I would try and follow it. I mean, so I think there's a pretty decent balance, okay, of because obviously you're proceeding through the game mechanics at kind of your pace. So there's narrative events, but not like a super stringent. It's not a story game.
Yeah, it's not a linear kind of thing.
So that's why I say, like, I think it's more of like a vibe thing, kind of a stylistic storytelling decision that would bring you into that XCOM, because XCOM obviously is playing on a lot of these like classic UFO tropes, and it's fun.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna have to look up that game now because I love alien stuff.
Well, it's just a really good game.
About it, yeah.
So, yeah.
Just the perfect game, honestly.
Yep, it's a good game.
All right, Sydney, what's your number 5?
I picked What Remains of Edith Finch. It was published in 2017 by Giant Sparrow. It's, let me refer to my little notes over here. You play as 17-year-old Edith Finch returning to her ancestral home for the first time in 7 years. As you explore the abandoned estate, you uncover the family's mysterious, tragic past. So the narrative kind of works like an anthology where, as you interact with different objects around the house or different locations, you unlock playable vignette sequences about that specific family member and basically the events that led to their tragic death. So it's really emotional, thematic, and stylistically, there's a lot of like magical realism. It's really surreal and kind of cryptic at times. So I think it would make a great mini series where every episode focuses on a different family member and then has the what's the word I'm looking for? A frame story of Edith going through the house. Yeah, thematically about fate, legacy, memory, death. It's very different genre and tone and styles between the different stories. I think it would adapt perfectly as a miniseries.
That's interesting, because that was actually, I had thought about that one off my list, but I settled on, I was worried that it wouldn't have the same emotional impact when you weren't playing it, because I think about that scene with the brother all the time in the fish factory, and I'm like, I always think about that, and I'm like, would that have been as like impactful if I couldn't play it? But I was like, a mini series,
if you
we were
weren't
able
the
to
one.
focus in on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That was something
yeah.
I definitely considered with all my choices. Like, I play a lot of choice-based games and just games in general. A lot of the emotional storytelling is dependent on your interactivity as a player. So that's something I thought a lot about, and I think Edith Finch works. I think it could work, as opposed to some other ones that I thought about that I think are more reliant on the different player choices and stuff like that. So
Sounds good. All right. My number 5 is, to no one's surprise, Dispatch. To remind everyone what this is, Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy where choices matter. Manage a dysfunctional team of misfits heroes and strategize who to send on emergencies around the city, all while bouncing office politics, personal relationships, and your own quest to become a hero. We covered an entire episode on this about how much I love this game. I think the characters would loan themselves really well to series. I don't know if necessarily I want a shot by shot with what Robert's story already was, but something to expand upon the world, I feel like would be really great. Sort of Fallout style. It's kind of parallel. It's within that world and it touches on those themes, but it's not necessarily focused on the characters we know. Number 5 was really hard for me. I wanted to put Stray or Subnautica. Both are in development.
yeah.
And then I really wanted to place Sly Cooper in this slot, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a platformer released by PlayStation that was, you played as a raccoon that stole things, and it was like kind of a really, it's like a heist game, but you're a raccoon. And I thought, like, with the Bad Guys movie, that but I took it off the list because it was sort of in a gray zone where it was in production at one time. They released a trailer for it, but it was canceled, which means that movie exists in some capacity at Sony, and they need to release the raccoon movie anyway. Sorry, but it's about Dispatch.
I feel like that used to be all video game movies that you actually wanted to see. That's all in 10 years of my life. It was like every game that I cared about had a movie in exactly that situation.
Yeah.
But
carry on.
I wonder, because if Ratchet and Clank came out right around then, and it was bad. I fell asleep during Ratchet and Clank, but and it was so Sony was just like, forget spending the extra money to finish Sly Cooper. But I think it would have been good. Sly Cooper wasn't my number 5, but clearly it's competing with Dispatch at this moment. But like, anyways, we can move on from that.
No, I think Dispatch is a great pick. I would love to see like a TV series where maybe, you know, the story we get in the first game, again, not spoiling because I know Isaac just picked it up and needs to play it, but like you see,
I already watched your first episode of this podcast.
Well, we ruined it for
Thanks,
him.
guys.
we said we had a spoiler disclaimer at the beginning.
No, it's good. It's good. It's fun.
Well, I think it would be fun. It would make a good like TV show where you can have the overarching story that we see from the game, but like give us more time for character interaction and like expanding the side characters and stuff. I think that would work great.
And I feel like
it already has a distinct animation style.
Right. The reason it's like kind of lower on my list and was almost an afterthought to me is because it's so inevitable that this will become a series eventually. Like it's so primed for television or a movie. Like it probably just hasn't been announced yet. And probably when this comes out, there will be an announcement. But anyways, we can move on to number 4. Isaac, number 4.
I'm just real quick. You saying that made me think of why, because that's a lot of like Telltale X devs, right? And they have. I was trying to think of the Telltale catalog what they'd made that was super popular and hadn't had a movie. But I wonder why like Wolf Among Us never had a movie adaptation, because it seems like it would have fit a lot of the same boxes. But just trying to wreck your list, Alana. Okay, so number 4 is I picked Valheim. So yeah. So this one is funny because obviously it's a pretty freeform game, survival crafting. The things that I love about it are kind of the sense of discovery as you're exploring the world, and the progression is super solid. So once again, super designy kind of things that I cling to there. However, the nostalgia factor, okay, similarly similarly to what I was talking about with XCOM, when I was growing up, there was this genre of movie that I don't know if it exists anymore, that was like, I'm sure they were awful movies, okay, but filtered through the young brain of Isaac, also epic. These like Viking movies. I don't know if any of you ever saw any of them. I wish I could find any of the titles. I have no idea how you would go about finding said B tier, bottom of the shelf, blockbuster Viking movie. But you know, there would be like some boy protagonist and living his Viking life. You know, years later we get like Northman, with I'm not going to remember anyone's names, which is great. But definitely a much more serious type of deal. Anyways, I think with Valheim, you could even get into some of the battle royale-esque parts of it. I don't know if they still exist, but there was for a while kind of a multiplayer aspect of competitive battle royale that people would organize in the world of Valheim. I think there's something there. I think you can make a movie out of that.
Valheim barely
Have you
missed
seen
my
the-
list. Go ahead.
Good.
Have you seen the Vikings TV show on, I think it's the History Channel?
I've seen like half of it. There's another one. It doesn't matter. I've seen a bunch of it, but it was still releasing, and I stopped.
But
Just interested if if you'd seen it, how that is different
Yeah.
from what you would want from a Valheim adaptation. Less serious, more
I mean, that's just so
Solo.
historical, right?
Yeah.
Like Valheim is probably important context story-wise here. Tune in, Lana, whenever you feel like correcting my poor description of the game here. But Valheim exists in, I believe it's the afterlife, right? Like you're technically
Okay.
dead, right? So there's a lot of fantasy in the setting, mythical stuff is happening.
It's really interesting because it has these little tidbits of story, which I think, because when I was, again, I barely missed my list because of these reasons, that I was like, this would make a good show. But like, I just, there are other things that just went out over it. But like, so you're a Viking who's died, and so Odin sends you, I think it's Midgard. I don't know which world he sends you to, but he sends you one of the worlds, and you're supposed to like claim it in his name. And so you have to go and you have to fight these bosses by like collecting tributes to these bosses. And and again, there's little snippets of narrative in here where you'll see Odin in the mist, which is super cool. I love those moments. He looks like a Grim Reaper. And if you walk to him, he like puffs. And then also when you sleep, you'll actually get dreams. And I think it's supposed to be dreams from your past life as a Viking. And I was actually thinking, because we picked up Valheim again, that I wanted to go through and see what, like, if someone had cataloged each dream and to see if there was like any like connective thread through it. I just haven't, but like I feel like those little fun tidbits would be a good show.
That's cool. I didn't know Valheim had that much story. I think I jumped on it with you guys like one time, and I was like, this isn't for me. Bye.
Come
But,
back
like,
I
anytime.
showed you our
Sydney.
village. I was like, here's our village.
Yeah.
Here's my wolves that have now run rampant and
Nerds.
Yeah,
made
your wolves.
been bad.
That's cool. I love Viking stuff too. Space stuff, Viking stuff, Vikings in space. That'd be awesome.
I mean, okay,
Hell yeah.
settle down.
We're getting crazy now. All right, Sydney, what's your number 4?
I picked To the Moon, published in 2011 by Freebird Games. It's a little like top-down pixelated, kind of like in the old like RPG Maker, old Pokemon style games. It's truly one of the most unique narratives I've ever experienced in a game. You play as two doctors who are working for Sigmund Corp. They seek to fulfill a dying man's wish using a technology that creates artificial memories. So the doctors, Eva and Neil, insert themselves into interactive versions of their patient's memories, traversing backward through his life in order to understand and complete his request of going to the moon. It's really sad. It will make you cry. It's about an old man and looking back at his tragic life, and it's about like dreams and hopes and the things that happen to people over life, and just the things that you regret and the things that you didn't get to do. And it's just like thematically an avalanche, and it's incredible, and everybody should play it. And the soundtrack is beautiful, and it's made by one guy. It's awesome. I love it.
I haven't played that. I need to. I've heard of it though as like one of the big narrative greats. But what I like about this choice and your choice before is I feel like something that I miss in television is the miniseries, and I feel like both of those.
That's my dream someday, is to write a miniseries. That's my favorite form of anything.
Would you want that one to follow the story exactly? Like,
yeah, it's pretty narratively driven. Like, you're basically just like talking to characters and walking around through the memories to like pick up things, you know. So I think the whole roadmap is there. You wouldn't have to change anything. And then there is a prequel game, which they could make To the Moon as a miniseries, and then, you know, like they do sometimes, they're like, here's the prequel that's also a miniseries. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a sequel in development, but it's been in development for over 10 years at this point. Who knows if it'll come out. Yeah, but To the Moon is very special.
That's what I feel like I'm missing a lot of like indie games on my list. Like I was trying to rack my brain for like more indie games, but they're all like so special to me, which maybe we'll talk about that later. But
all of mine except for one are indie games.
That's true. Mine's the opposite. I think Dispatch is the only indie game on my list. Anyways, go on to my number 4. We're departing into these are all gonna be very obscure games because I probably am falling into the nostalgia trap. So my number 4 is a game called Area 51. It was released in 2005. It was an Xbox first-person shooter that was very much based, like when Halo came out, it spawned all these copycat games. This was one of them. And this is where you play a hazmat operative named Ethan Cole investigating a viral outbreak at a secret military base, Area 51, only to discover alien conspiracies, mind control mutants, ancient alien colonies, and forcing you to use human and alien weapons to survive and uncover secrets. My favorite part about this game was it featured voice work by David Duchovny and Marilyn Manson. They were both in this game.
Great.
The reason why I picked this was because when I was younger and I played this, I had a blast. It starts out kind of creepy and horror-ish. You think you're in a zombie movie in Area 51. I love that feel. And then when you kind of get to this point where your hazmat team dies and you realize this viral outbreak is connected to aliens. And so I just absolutely loved playing this game. It combined aliens, conspiracies, horrors. It's a one game. And each of the levels, so Area 51 the levels were the floors of Area 51. So the further you went down, the more bizarre Area 51 became. And like, I remember at one point having a gunfight on a stage that looks like a faked moon landing. I think this would be a fun movie.
All the boxes.
Yeah. I think it'd be a fun movie if it was done tongue-in-cheek. The game took itself very seriously. It spawned a sequel of Area 51 Black Site, which I was really disappointed by because it was nothing like this first game. But when tell people about this game. No one knows what the hell I'm talking about. I highly recommend. I don't even know if I can find a port of it. I honestly have tried and I've failed. But uh, I yeah, I don't know. I just want to see aliens.
When you said do it tongue in cheek, it was making me think of Starship Troopers, like that kind of
Yes,
satire, or like Helldivers or something. This like
that's
satire
exactly what it
alien.
is.
Cool.
Because I remember when you bust, it's such a vivid memory in my brain, and I think this is why, like, because if you have something that's like so just stuck in your brain, I want to see this on a movie screen. But like when you bust into the soundstage of the fake moon landing, I remember the American flag just like falling over and being cardboard, and it was like such a fantastic moment.
Physical comedy.
I'm very sad. This was actually done by High Moon Studio. No. This I spoiled it. I spoiled something. Anyways, no, it wasn't done by High Moon Studios. That's something later. But I'm very sad that the IP has faded. But anyways, we can go to number 3. Isaac.
Okay, number 3 is Sid Meier's Pirates.
Oh, I do love that game.
For those unfamiliar, Sid Meier's Pirates is a Life of the Pirate simulator. You are a young lad whose parents have, or family, not just your parents, your family has been kidnapped by an evil villain archetype person, a baron, I believe, a little fuzzy. And the game is just you sailing around the doing pirate stuff and looking for your family. The game loop itself is super tight. You're sailing around. You align yourself with one of the nations. So there's the Dutch, the English, the French, and the Spanish. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. I think that's right. Yeah, and then that kind of informs some of your decisions about who you're willing to attack or not attack. But these are not hard and fast rules. And then you're just a pirate. It's kind of quick timey action sequences. You level up and then look for clues to find your family. So yeah, pretty straight line, I think, onto the silver screen. Just pirate stuff, Pirates of the Caribbean, with some extra steps, minus some others.
Boo.
Big fan of pirates.
I want the mummies. Is that what you said? Mummies? Zombies.
Yeah, no zombies. I don't know. This gets at one of my problems with Pirates of the Caribbean, which is that it starts out in a super grounded world with lots of world building that makes a lot of sense. And then I'm fine with the first movie, but everything after that is just them throwing fantasy shit in there, and it goes completely off the rails. But that's fine.
So is
grounded pirates. Okay, fun but grounded. It's necessary.
So this Pirates is very, like you said, it's
very serious.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Dutch and the French and stuff. So it's like historical, grounded reality pirates. There's no like supernatural stuff in it, or.
I love the fun aspects of Pirates of the Caribbean, which are
the curse and that supernatural kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the first movie works really well of Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think if they had kept that same focus, the other movies might have worked better.
I'm
For
like
me.
imagining. I think
Audience
it was
of
Black
one.
Sails on like HBO. That was a pirate show, but it was like super serious.
Oh, yeah.
So like
that was tough to watch. Bad things happen to people.
Yeah, that, but like lighthearted.
Our flag means death.
Sure.
Did anybody watch that one? That's
I'm not
comedy gay pirates.
I caught like the first half of that, but then it was still releasing.
I only watched the first
that
season.
happens to me in every show. Yeah.
I'm all for more pirates, honestly.
Good.
What's your number 3, Sydney?
Yeah, well, that's good because we don't want to listen to my rant about Pirates of the Caribbean either. That's for another.
We should have Isaac come back for a Pirates of the Caribbean episode. That'd be amazing.
Uh-oh.
And we can just critique Pirates of the Caribbean and how all its promise was squandered. Because I can also talk about that for a couple of hours.
I'll do
That
it
movie came out
emotionally,
my
and then you can do
birthday.
it intelligently.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, those summer blockbusters, because I'm mid-May, so like Avengers movies and like superhero movies always used to come out around my birthday too. That was always fun.
Mine was Ant-Man.
Anyway.
And we, we should do a Pirates of the Caribbean episode. That'd be super fun. But yeah,
Cool. I'm learning a lot of games today from Isaac that I never heard of. So I'm like, I have my own little list over here that I'm like writing things down. My number 3. Yes, I said we love pirates. I said I love Vikings. I love aliens. Anyone who knows me knows that sci-fi is my favorite. I love sci-fi stuff. And my favorite sci-fi game of all time, well, okay, one of my favorite sci-fi games of all time is Frictional Games Soma. Came out in 2015. And the game starts in 2015 when Simon Jarrett survives a car accident but sustains severe brain damage. Due to his injuries, Simon agrees to undergo an experimental brain scan, during which Simon appears to black out, only to regain consciousness on a seemingly abandoned research center on the ocean floor. I don't even want to say anything else about that game because even talking about like 5 more minutes feels like spoilers to me. That game is just constantly like dumping stuff on you, and it's intense and crazy. And it's a horror game, sci-fi horror, that specifically seems to prey on my fears, like the ocean and other things that I can't even say because, again, spoilers. I know we said we were going to talk about spoilers in this podcast, but like this game, I can't even talk about it. It's
psychologically damaging. It almost made it onto my list, but it didn't because I was like, I actually don't think I could sit through a Soma movie. Like, it would be great. It would be amazing. But I could not do it because that game is, as you said, it's incredible, but it is, yes. It deals with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. If you like things like Black Mirror, this like sci-fi stuff that's really like theoretical and dark and depressing, you will love Soma. It is absolutely horrific. The ending, it just really sticks with you, and it would be an incredible movie.
Hi, Oliver.
Everybody should play it and terrorize themselves.
Yes, it's a
horror video games are so much harder. I don't know.
So much harder to adapt, or just so much harder to play. Yeah.
Like, I'm a pretty anxious person, so getting through a horror movie feels like a win. Video games where you're in it is tough.
Yeah. That's the great thing about Soma is that they have a setting you can check off to remove the enemies. So you can still experience the story and the environment, but you don't have to go through any stealth sections that can make you anxious or just like get frustrating when you're just trying to experience the game and the story and you keep having to restart a section. So this is another reason why I recommend Soma to everybody, because you can turn off the scary stuff and just like experience the psychological terror.
You'll be terrified enough.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love it.
It is fun. Fun is the wrong word, but it is a great game. I feel like a lot of. I'm glad that I played through it the first time. I don't think I could do it a second time.
Well, they announced their spiritual successor at the Game Awards just a couple weeks ago, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Oliver just turned up
Okay,
the
Lana.
volume on my thing. Okay. So my number 3 was kind of it's kind of my controversial one. God damn it, cat. Um, and that it does kind of rub up against disclaimer. I think it's number 1 a little bit. But we're not gonna talk. We're just gonna just say it. My number 3 is Diablo. I'm not talking about one game though. Okay, very clear. As a summary, Diablo is a top-down series. You're thrown into the conflict between heaven and hell as a human on Earth. The angels and demons are always constantly fighting with each other. Humans are being pulled into it. They're trying to struggle and create like a life and sanctuary. That's what the world is called. The primary evils that are always trying to take over the world known as sanctuary are obviously Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal. I don't think this should follow one story in the Diablo universe. I think it should be like Fallout, where it is set parallel to the games. I think that this feels like I'm patting myself on the back, but I promise you it's not. Like there's like the smaller life in Sanctuary is very interesting. The people that are in Sanctuary are just trying to struggle and survive. I love that when people take advantage of the world in Diablo and the pain and grief and they sort of like capitalize it on their own gain. I feel like there's a really interesting narrative that can be pulled from like these smaller stories in Sanctuary or even larger ones. I feel like we see Deckard Cain in Diablo 2. I foolishly can't remember if he's in Diablo 1. I don't think he is, but or maybe he is a little bit, but I think a Deckard Cain series would be interesting. The Haradrim, we didn't ever get to see them really at their peak in any of the Diablo games. I think that would be really cool, but yeah. I just think the tone is dark, supernatural, horror. There's a lot of horror on my list, but I love it. And I would love a Diablo series.
Yeah, I think you could get like a Game of Thrones level series out of Diablo.
Yes.
Just following different characters around the world. Like you have,
mm-hmm.
You're following the Haradrim, and then you follow like somebody in Sanctuary, and then you follow, mm-hmm. you like go see the demons and Lilith or whatever. Like you could get this really expansive fantasy epic story out of Diablo,
mm-hmm.
for sure.
And it's always like what I really love about Diablo's story is like there's this push-pull between heaven and hell, but neither one are really the good guys. And so there's like always this moral gray area where someone's being played as a pawn, and it's always usually a human. And it's very it's interesting to see how much humanity is like constantly undervalued in Diablo and how much humanity always pulls through. I don't know. I just would like to see that on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, the humans are really fun to root for in that world with they're just like pawns between mm-hmm. the angels and the demons.
Yeah. Yeah, we can move on to number 2.
Number 2. For number 2, I have Command and Conquer Red Alert, which I know both of you played hours of, so you'll be right here with me in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you would make me play
Red
Alert.
Look, so there's a couple Red Alert games, and I've only played the first one. Much, to my disappointment. But in Command and Conquer Red Alert, you're starting to get some of the more fantastical elements that later, I think, become more of a mainstay in the Red Alert franchise. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but this was in the period of time where you were doing, super pixely graphics and then live action like cutscenes. And these were fantastic for me when I was young. Big fan. I'm pretty fuzzy on the details, and I did zero amount of research. Refresh my memory, but here goes. So you can pick a faction, right? You either pick the good guys or you play for the bad guys, right? And basically like Einstein discovers time travel and goes back in time. I want to say to take out an important historical figure and change the timeline so that like better things happen. And either you're the bad guys who are trying to make this happen to your advantage, or you're the good guys trying to make it happen, etc. Right? And yeah, I just I like the so. I'm a big fan of RTSs in general, and as I was thinking about the ones that might work as a movie, Red Alert is kind of a good candidate because like Age of Empires, it's just historical stuff that you're kind of emulating in the RTS genre, where Red Alert's actually doing kind of more interesting stuff. So, yeah, I assume that will have more fans out in the world than in this podcast.
Many people are clamoring for the Red Alert movie.
Yes,
now.
clamoring for the Red Alert movie.
There's a petition being signed to
Yep.
the White House right now.
Nod will make it happen.
Yeah, that's another
guess
one I'm going to
you-
have to look into.
You have to look
Do you
into
think of it as like a movie or like a TV series?
Oh man. The thing is, it already kind of exists because of these live action cutscenes in some ways as like snippets of a show. So it's hard to say. I mean, you can probably get it done in an hour and 20 minutes. I think it's not too
That's
complex.
the perfect length for a movie. Anything longer
Right?
is like, I don't
Yeah,
want to watch it.
yeah.
You don't think 3 hours is a good length for?
Unless you're Lord of the Rings, you don't need to be 3 hours long. Sorry. That's an interesting pick, though. I don't know a lot of RTS games, and I mean, I think of RTS to a movie. I think StarCraft.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, sure.
that's one I'm gonna have to look up now because I don't know.
You know, if I had ever played StarCraft as a young person, that probably would have been on my list. Because I exclusively played RTSs, but just for whatever reason, we got Age of Empires and Red Alert. We didn't get StarCraft, so here we are.
Yeah,
I checked my dad's Civilization hours the other day, and he played over 3,000 hours so far. So you and my dad probably playing games.
nice.
It was like 3,300 hours. I haven't played anything. Anyways, what was your number 2?
You know,
Sydney?
people
It's a
find
couple
what they
hours.
like, and that's all
He
you
still
need
plays
sometimes.
it. He was playing it today. I saw him playing it today.
Living.
All right. Your number 2, Sydney.
Mine. Okay. So, pulling my notes over here too. I think the last ones I've talked about were all series that I think so much should be a movie. But this is my other movie. The one non-indie game on my list. I want an animated 3-hour long. This is the 3-hour exception. Sweeping score, beautiful Ghibli style animation, barely any dialogue adaptation of Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's what I
pick.
want. Yeah. I love that game. You'll notice a theme with all of the games I pick that they are emotionally devastating, I guess. But yeah, Shadow of the Colossus, you play as Wander with his horse Argo to bring the body of Mono to an altar at the Shrine of Worship, pleading with the god Dorman to return Mono's soul to her body. Dorman agrees under the condition that Wander use the ancient sword in his possession to destroy the 16 colossi scattered around the vast expanse of land surrounding the temple. And again, spoiler territory after that. If you are interested, we don't have to get into the whole plot of all of these games, so play Shadow of the Colossus. Look up spoilers if you don't care, but it's incredible. Beautiful game. Visually, emotionally,
I was
everything.
gonna say, I like that you mentioned the art style because that's one of the best parts of that game is the art. Like all, I mean, all of that game is incredible, but the art style is what really stood out for me when I played it.
Yeah, the Colossi
Isaac,
design.
the artist.
I am ashamed to say I've never played Shadow of the Colossus.
You weren't
still
a
playing?
console
That's
gamer though.
is that
so.
yeah, is that PlayStation 1 too?
I think so. It is published by
too.
Sony, so
I've been hearing people clamor about this game, okay, for 20 years now.
because it's good.
I'm a little bitter about it. I can tell it's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep hearing about it. One of these days, maybe.
I think games like Elden Ring and the other Souls-like games are similar in the way that the story is kind of not shoved in your face, and you are fighting these like giant creatures that seem like way impossible to fight. Like that's kind of the same feeling you get out of Shadow of the Colossus. So if you like that kind of stuff, it's not as hard as FromSoft games, but it's great.
Huge. Cool.
All right.
Okay,
Move
Lana,
on to
your number 2.
My number 2? Okay. Star Fox. I picked Star Fox 64.
Nice.
Star Fox 64 follows Fox McCloud, an elite mercenary team called Star Fox. Peppy the Hare, Slippy the Toad, and Falco Lombardi. Oh, God. I don't know that word. As they defend the Lilat system from mad scientist Andros. I love the characters in this world. I like the mercenaries. I like that for Nintendo, these guys are kind of rough around the edges. They are they answer to the general, but Star Fox will give them flack all the time. Dinosaur Planet was not popular in the Star Fox franchise. It seems to have. I think they came out recently with a new game that people weren't. I didn't play it. People weren't super thrilled with it, but I still think it would make a great film. Again, it's like a found family. I think it'd be a great animated film. I actually thought it had been when I was like thinking of this list. I was like, there must be a Star Fox one out there, but all I could find was that Nintendo had done a puppet show at Treehouse, at their Treehouse announcement to announce the next Star Fox game. I just heard it was like kind of bland, but I loved, the worlds where you get to fly, the combat, and it was great. I don't know if you guys ever played it. It's an on the rail shooter. They have like tank moments. I like all the teams. All the team has like a different dynamic. Slippy's kind of the idiot. Peppy's the wise old man. Falco's like always rivals with Star Fox. But I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, with like Mario and Sonic getting adaptations now, like maybe, Sonic's still making games, Mario's still making games, so maybe like if we get another Star Fox game, then we'll get a movie.
Cost, man. And then we get Epic Universe, get Star Fox and Nintendo's Super Nintendo World.
That'd be fun.
Pretty straightforward one. Do we want to move on to our number ones?
Our finals.
Number 1, Isaac.
Okay, so you remember how a few minutes ago, I was talking about how Pirates of the Caribbean went off the rails because it got too fantasy. That's all true. Okay, but my number 1 is Monkey Island. Okay,
nice.
Specifically the Curse of Monkey Island.
Nice.
That's such a good pick.
We are back to pirates, but everything about this is perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing. It's just make an animated movie, 1-to-1 stylistically, the writing. It's the perfect game. I don't know what else to say.
That was Lucas Games, right?
Lucas Games hit it out of the park, and I've been sad ever since that we don't have like 1,000 more games exactly like Curse of Monkey Island. I mean, I can't play point and click games anymore, mostly because I'm lazy. But there's a part of that that's because they're not as good as Curse of Monkey Island. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I haven't played it, but yeah, good time.
It's a good one.
That's
Yep.
I've never played it all the way through though, which is kind of a shame.
You're a bad person.
God damn.
It's good game. You'll play it and you'll be like, I should have played this 20 years ago. But it's all right. You're still on your
And then you'll
character
play Area 51. You'll be like, why did Alana like this so much? I don't know. Okay.
Equal opposite forces.
What's your number 2, Sydney? Number 2. Oh my
No,
god.
we're on our
Jesus
last one.
Christ. Last
Again,
one.
though, mine were in no order.
Yeah.
But
this is the best
I
one.
just picked 5. Yeah, but this one, no. I picked the Rusty Lake series. Does anybody know Rusty Lake?
I don't think I've heard of that.
They are. It's a little confusing because the development team is also called Rusty Lake, and technically the series overall is called Cube Escape. But the main chunk of the narrative lies in the subcategory of the series Rusty Lake. So it's kind of like, if you remember way back, like browser games, like Escape the Room games, it's kind of an evolution of that. I just hit my microphone. Point and click puzzle adventure, which Isaac just said he can't play. Conceptually, visually, thematically, it is very Lynchian, very Twin Peaks inspired. Just like Twin Peaks, the story centers around the death and life of a woman named Laura. In the Rusty Lake series, it is Laura Vanderboom. And over the course of these games, you slowly unravel the Vanderboom family history and explore the mysteries of Rusty Lake. There are anthropomorphic beings like Mr. Crow and Mr. Owl, and there's these cubes that have supernatural abilities that seem to be tied to memory. It's a sprawling universe with 9 Rusty Lake games, the last of which just came out this year, and an additional 11 Cube Escape games. So if anybody is interested in these games, I would recommend starting with just Rusty Lake, focusing on that, and starting at Rusty Lake Hotel. And then the Cube Escape games can be like supplemental stuff, but they are tied to it. There's a lot of information. Anyway, it's a hard game to talk about narratively because it is very weird. It's cryptic and obtuse and opaque and high concept, but it would make a cool TV show for, like, I think it would be the kind of TV show that people who like to, like, watch every episode 3 times over and make fan theories and, like, analyze set design and costume design and, like, talk online. Like, it is absolutely the kind of series for that. And I think that's getting really popular now with things like Severance, and, you know, back in the day, people used to do that with Lost. And there's just a ton of mystery and little hints to bigger story things in these games that would adapt well to a really obscure, weird TV show.
That sounds like I need to check that out. It sounds like a perfect TV show for me. I love Gravity Falls because of that stuff, and like analyzing everything in Gravity Falls, and just like how I would watch it and be like, that's not important, and then it'd be the most important thing 2 episodes later. It was like such a cool. It's never really.
It's very
been
much
since.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't watched Severance though, so I could have misspoken there, but
I love Severance. But you'll play Cube Escape 3 or whatever, and then like 6 years later a Rusty Lake game will come out and it'll have a detail from that, and there's been like 4 games in between, but you're like, oh, I remember that from 10 years ago. Like, that's what those games are like. They're crazy, and they're still being developed, and it's a very small indie team too. I like puzzle games. I like weird stuff. I like trying to like figure out the story myself, and Rusty Lake does that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I need to check that out. I'm surprised because we both watched Gab Smulders on YouTube, that she hasn't played that, because I feel like I
think she might have played a few of them.
Oh, okay.
We'd have to look,
because it feels like that'd be right up her alley, and I'm like surprised that she she hasn't played those.
She might have. I mean, you know, I watch John Wolfe regularly, and he's definitely played a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think he might have gotten me into it actually, and then I started playing them on my own. But I think Gabs played some too. We'd have to check that.
All right. Are you ready for my number
Alana,
one?
drum roll.
Drum roll.
Is
It's
this your
everyone's
actual number
favorite-
one? Are
It
yours like
is.
ordered? Okay.
Yeah. This is everyone's favorite Western. Everyone loves this series, Dark Watch. Anyway. This was a 2005 first-person shooter game that tells the story of Jericho Cross, an outlaw gunfighter in the late 19th century American frontier who's been turned into a vampire and forcibly recruited by the titular monster hunting secret organization, Dark Watch, to fight against the supernatural forces. This is another game which people really don't know about. Came again on the Halo craze. It was the same year. It was released the same year as Area 51. I'm in a Western kick right now, so this came immediately to my mind. I love spooky stuff. I love horror. I love a dark hero. Dark Watch was just, when I played it, I remember it being really like a fun story. I tried to look up videos of it again because these are all hard games to find now. But there was so much potential for world building and just like a dark comedy Western. I remember one of the first scenes is like when you wake up, like, so it starts out and you're robbing a train. And they're like, oh, this isn't, you better get off this train. And you're, of course, a shitty outlaw. So you just blow up the safe and they're hiding a vampire inside. So he attacks you. You become a vampire. And the first thing you do is like you attack your horse and your horse becomes a vampire horse and like has flames around it. And immediately I was sold. But I just think I want more Westerns that have elements like this. I want more genre crossing. I think this would be a perfect one for it. This was actually High Moon Studios' first ever game. They never made another one. I was very sad about that as a child and still to this day. But yeah, I just remember the characters, the world, the story all being really fascinating and interesting to me. And I would love to see that as a series.
That's really cool. I've never heard of that one either. You know I love vampires. And cowboy vampires, that's cool shit.
I remember it being very 2000s, but I think it would have a lot of potential for like a story reboot. Yeah, I just love the vampire aspect. I remember because all the levels were at night because you couldn't go out during the sun. And you would be like tasked with like hunting bounties of like other vampires and stuff. And so you have these cool like graveyard fights and things like that. And the combat was actually pretty smooth. Looking back on it, I was like, oh, okay. And I think eventually you get the power to walk in the day, but you kind of like slowly, and it has a choice-based system. I forgot about this part. You can actually choose you come across like victims that are dying. And you can either choose to like take their souls or release them. And so the more you feed into the vampire side, the more evil Jericho gets throughout the game. And then the more you help souls, the more balanced he becomes. So it's a really cool, it was a choice based, it was ahead of its time. And it kind of flew under the radar because of it. But yeah, I would love for a movie or a TV show or just reboot the game, please. Give me that game.
What year did you say that came out?
2005.
When did Fable come out?
It was an Xbox game. Ooh, that's a very good question. I also thought about Fable for my list too.
Because like that, where you're the hero and you can choose good or evil. I was wondering if it was the same kind of era of that.
Let me see. The original release date. No, not the new one.
I know. Yeah, there's a new one coming out.
That was 2004, so it came out a year after Fable. So it probably was influenced by that line of thinking.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, and there's that game, I just looked it up, Blood of the Dawnwalker, that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds very much like that, where you can only go out at night because you're a vampire, and there is like choice-based systems that I've really been looking forward to because I love vampires, but it seems like this game already exists, so I don't need it. And it's cowboy vampires. It's better.
Cowboy vampires. I don't know where you can find it. If you can find it, please tell me. Because I would
Okay.
love to like replay that again. Maybe it's very bad, but
It can't
that's
be.
it for
Not with
my
a premise
list.
like that.
What was that Western vampire co-op game we played?
We
a
did.
lot?
There was one that came out. I can't remember the name of it anymore.
It's killing me. It wasn't that long ago.
You weren't
It's
like a
in the last-
vampire. You were fighting against some.
Oh, you specifically you need to be the vampire.
Yeah, if you're not a vampire, I don't want to deal with it. And
All
then
right,
my horse
yeah,
isn't
just-
a demon horse.
Good. Well, okay, naturally.
But I do
Yeah.
remember. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I do remember which one you were talking about. It was like a Polish company that made
Evil
it.
West?
Evil West.
Evil
yeah,
West.
Yep.
But and yeah, I don't know. I just really like that game.
When you
I
started
know
like
s-
everybody's favorite Western,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I know she loves Red Dead. And
Well,
you surprised me.
Red Dead has a demon horse.
Yeah,
undead
in the
mode.
DLC.
too.
I did think about putting Red Dead Undead Nightmare, but I think Dark Watch just has more story potential than like that. Because I feel like with Red Dead, if you don't have a connection to John Marston, or yeah, that's it. That's the character for the first one, and then it's kind of like then you're not going to get the DLC. It's not like impactful. But watching John Marston, I think would be the same thing with like dark comedy. Watching John Marston navigate in a world of zombies was hilarious. Like how he just tied up his wife and his kids when they first turn, and he just puts like a plate of steak in front of them, and he's like, "You all behave now," and he like leaves the house. It's
Oh, John
amazing.
Marston.
His peak. John's so good. I know everyone loves Arthur, but I was so sad when we didn't play as John.
You get to play as John in Red Dead 2 also.
I know, but I know.
I love Arthur Morgan.
Arthur's great too. I know, Sydney, that you had kind of an anti-list.
Yes. As I was thinking of, I only have 2 on here, but as I was thinking of titles that I wanted to see adapted, and I was doing some research on like what other people thought, there were some that people
Just
kept
my list in
suggesting that
reverse.
I strongly disagreed with. And the only one that I really feel strongly about, I put Red Dead 1 and 2 on this list that I've titled You'd Think So But No. Mostly because I do think Red Dead could be a really good TV show, like a great cowboy show, and like I love like the conflict between Dutch and their like descent into the gang falling apart, whatever. It could make a great show and it would be totally fine. But I feel like a lot of the emotional connection to that game is in the small moments of like going out into the wilderness and hunting for a week straight and not seeing another human being, or going and starting a fight in the bar in Santony or something like that. So you just miss out on some of that stuff. So that's why it's not on my list, as much as I love the stories of those games. But the one game that everyone wants to see adapted that I think should not be adapted is BioShock. You can't
that's a
adapt
spicy
that
choice.
story. Like, it's
Interesting.
so reliant on you playing the game for it to have an impact. And this is something, when we get to our Last of Us episode, that I also was very concerned about the end of season 1 of The Last of Us with Joel shooting up the hospital and how that moment would be impacted with you not playing it. And I have a lot of thoughts on that we will talk about at some other point. But BioShock does not work as a TV show or a movie. Doesn't. The only way you could adapt BioShock is if you do some kind of anthology series of a bunch of different people all over Rapture cataloging the downfall of Rapture or something like that. You cannot adapt the story of the game BioShock. I don't think it can be done.
That's interesting. I have played a little Bioshock. I know a little bit of the story. I'm not super familiar with it, which is kind of surprising because I was such a console gamer up until like recently, pretty much. But yeah, I've read the script for it though. It's interesting. I do think like the twist is way more impactful when it's you.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Well,
you're
it's
so
also
immersed
this.
in it.
There's a level of meta to it as well because the mechanics of a game to play the game is like you get an objective and you do it. So like the twist at the end not only is a twist on the character but on the player, and like there's just so much nuance that doesn't work when it's not interactive.
I have kind of like I have two because you told me you were doing that, and I was like, I want to think if I can think of any too. I've had the Stanley Parable. No way.
Yeah.
I think that is so. It's such a story about gaming and game development. It's a beautiful story. I don't think it could ever translate.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's asking for it, but it was just one that I was like, this is like a good story that I could think.
Severance does take a lot of inspiration from the Stanley Parable.
Ooh.
Actually,
I need to watch Severance, and I love Adam Scott. I don't know what my problem is, but I will say probably the more surprising one that I thought of was Dredge. It's a fishing sim. It's a Cthulhu horror. I know,
Dredge
but
movie?
the reason was because I feel like very similar to what you were saying about Bioshock, that it was so impactful that you were making these choices and you were doing these things. And in Dredge, it's the same thing where it's like the twist at the end with it's the guy who's sending you on the missions. I can't remember exactly what his title is in the game. But I don't think that twist is impactful if you're just watching it, rather than that's actually you reflected back at the end. A little bit spoilers there, but and plus there's the two endings you can do in Dredge, and I think the story carries an impact when you can see both endings and you can try both endings. But yeah, that's my surprising one. I do love Dredge though, in Isaac's defense. Maybe it could be done.
That's not to say that choice-based games can't be adapted. Like, because you said Dispatch, which I do also think would make a good show. They're making a Life is Strange show, which I love, and I think they could do a really good job with a Life is Strange show as well. I thought about things like Oxenfree maybe putting on here, but I think similar to Dredge, I think a lot of the impact of Oxenfree is being able to replay it and see multiple endings. So I don't think it would work as well as an adaptation as something like The Wolf Among Us that Isaac mentioned earlier. I think would also make a great TV show. There are just some choices and some interactive moments that don't adapt as well as others.
And I think we were saying about Red Dead is how I feel about Dredge too. Or a lot of my favorite moments in that game is being alone in the boat in those creepy environments where you're not sure what's going on and things are a little bit off, but you can't really place it. And it's just you and the world. But yeah, I'm putting Isaac on the spot because we did not tell him this was happening. Do you have any games that you're like, nah?
Yeah.
You can say no. You're
allowed. I'm too much of a dreamer. I feel like Dredge would make an amazing movie.
Fight.
Fight it out. Listen, disclaimer number 3. We love stories. Or is that 2? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any good ones right off the cuff here. This requires some thought.
Another one that just occurred to me was Portal 2. And Portal, because I feel like Shell's such an impactful character when you're her and you get to give, because she doesn't have a voice literally for the player to impose herself, plays themselves.
It's just GLaDOS reacting to the things you're doing. So if it's just her on a screen, it feels detached almost.
Nah.
You disagree again? Damn.
Fallout. is exactly the same thing. Your character doesn't have a voice in
That's
Fallout.
true.
No
But what would,
question.
Honestly,
what
the
would
world-
the story for Portal be? You're just like
It's
walking,
I mean,
going through all these puzzles. Like you would have,
You
it would
could
have
do
to
a
be
Cave
very
Johnson-
different.
A
Yeah,
Cave Johnson spinoff, I guess, or prequel.
and cast J.K. Simmons in it again.
Yeah, there's only one person who can play him.
I love J.K. Simmons.
yeah. I feel like you could do a lot of that. Just with, I think it would work.
They could probably do something for it, but I don't know. Yeah,
But
Portal 2 is
they would
another
be
one of
better
those games
spent
that's-
making a Dark Watch TV show for me.
Woof.
Oh, any final
Take all the
If I
thoughts?
find
money
it, I'll send
from
it to
Portal
you.
2 TV show and give it to Dark Watch.
to Dark
Oof.
Watch. Give it to me, and then I'll pass it to Dark Watch. I'll pass it to High Moon Studios. But yeah, any final thoughts?
Nope. No thoughts.
All right.
That was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Isaac, for joining.
Jazz hands.
It was really fun to chat, and I'm glad that you agreed to do this. Hopefully you don't regret it and you'll come back. That wraps it up for this episode. Like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We've had a few comments, which is actually thrills me. Comment if you liked our list or you hated them. Comment if you want to fight Isaac. I don't know. And let us know if you enjoyed this
don't wanna fight
episode
you.
and would like to see more top 5 lists. Sorry. Please don't fight Isaac.
We're never going to have guests again if you encourage people
I know we're
to
not.
incite violence upon them.
I'm a figment of your imagination.
Thanks. And see you again soon.